Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dodgenball,
Present.
Ms. Fisher,
Here.
Mr. Vaughn,
Here.
Mr. Whitmore,
Here.
Councilman Hellinger,
Here.
Vice Chairman Junk,
Here.
Chairman Dick.
Motion to excuse Chairman Dick.
Okay, we have a motion. Any second?
Second.
We have a second? Okay, roll call for vote.
Mr. Dodgenball,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore,
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk.
Yes. Okay, with that out of the way, I guess we're ready for our first order of business. 2019-2394 request for Jonathan Danner for approval of the front yard setback variance for the fence at 102 Old Colony Drive on approximately 0.2 acres. Property zone R4 with text limitations, medium density residential district. Do I hear a report?
Yep.
Vice Chairman, before we proceed, can we do the motion summary minutes?
Okay, yes, I did skip that. We'll do the minutes first, I guess. Do I hear a motion for approval of the zoning minutes of the last meeting?
So
Make-
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and second, do I have a roll call?
Mr. Dodgenball,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore,
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, we'll proceed now.
All good. I got a presentation for you. So here the subject property is located on the east side of Old Colony Road and is the first property just north of Bowtown Road. As you can see here, the property is zoned R4 with text limitations for a medium density residential district. And as you can see, the rest of the Old Colony subdivision is zoned the same to the north. To the south, you have a B3 community business district. To the west, R6 for multifamily. To the east, you have a property zoned A1 for agriculture, and then an R3 single-family residential district. The aerial from the county auditor's site's a little outdated, so I went out to the site myself to get a couple pictures for a more accurate view. Here's a couple that I'll be referencing throughout the presentation. Here before you is the proposed fence that will require a front yard variance, as approximately 3.36 feet of the fence encroaches into the front yard, as this is technically a corner lot. The zoning code schedule 115202 only permits 4-foot ornamental fences that are 50% open to be inside of the front yard, and the proposed fence here is for a 6-foot privacy fence. However, as you can see from these pictures, there are clearly some special circumstances that exist on this property, as you have a bike path, a development entry sign, a development fence that all exist on this residence property. This is a bit of an outdated style of development, as typically nowadays we would require these type of features to be located on an HOA-owned parcel. However, this was constructed on a platted easement that does exist on this residence property. This is also the only property within the subdivision that has a bike path or development features on the property, making it unique to the neighborhood. Thus, approval of a variance to this fence wouldn't create a special circumstance that other neighbors in this neighborhood wouldn't be subject to. As you can see from this next picture here, gives you kind of a little bit better of an angle. I was taking this picture from the edge of the road, looking into the neighbor's backyard here. One of the justifications for a variance here is to allow the resident to better protect his family, his child and dog, to prevent people who use this active bike path from looking into his backyard, kind of like how I did. This stretch of Bowtown Road sees a lot of activities. You've got uses such as the Oakland Nursery adjacent to this property, and with all the traffic up and down the bike path and road, a privacy fence would be the only way for this applicant to ensure safety for the practical use of his backyard. as the only other option would be, as I previously mentioned, to build a 4-foot tall fence that would be 50% open, that typically meaning you have a 1-inch picket with a 1-inch gap, and that style of fence wouldn't allow proper screening of this backyard. It is for these reasons that staff strongly supports approval of this requested variance. For one, it'd be for the safety of the family in this backyard from screening along the bike path in Bowtown Road. 2, there is a very clear special circumstance here that does necessitate a practical hardship on the property. And then 3, with today's development standards, this section of bike path and the development features would be on HOA-owned property. Thus, this subject property wouldn't even technically be a corner lot. It would be a normal lot, in which case this privacy fence wouldn't be in a front yard and would be approvable just by the base code on its own. But these standards do exist, and therefore a variance would be required to approve this requested fence. And if you have any questions about any of the staff conditions I listed or any of the details of this variance, I'd be happy to answer them now. Thank you.
Okay, first, anybody wishes to talk on this subject? Okay, I just seeing if we need to swear anybody in, but if you
If you have
don't.
any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, if you would, come on up. You don't need to be in the back row. Just because there's probably be some question and answers, I'd like to go ahead and swear you in. Go ahead to the microphone. If you would, state your name and address.
Jonathan Dandera, 102 Old Colony Drive.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Would you open for questions now?
I don't think there's a question on it, but I was out to the property myself and was viewing the way it's put together. I could consider myself as being a father with kids, and I think you have a very valid issue to have a privacy fence put in because of the exposure. Given the size of this fence, I think this fence is going to be 6 foot tall. I think it affords you the type of protection you're looking for anybody who might be walking by or driving by. It certainly would provide the protection for your child. So I, for one, would suggest that the request be granted based on the safety factor for his family.
I have a question as to the type of fence you're planning to put up. Will it be chain link or something else?
There's a
Right.
drawing.
Can you come to the microphone?
There's a
No,
It's
picture
a
of,
6-foot white vinyl fence.
It's
It's a
white.
vinyl fence,
And-
okay. I
and-
wasn't
yeah.
sure as to the style, since we had certain specifications in there as to finish side out and everything.
Yeah, it's just plain white vinyl panel fence, yes, but it'll be white.
That image submitted is just kind of a typical rendering that the contractor May Fence tends to submit to kind of show the height of what a 6 foot privacy fence would look like.
Does the HOA allow 6 foot fence?
Yes, we've already got approval for that.
So help me understand how far back on that drawing from the current bike path? What's gonna be the?
So this is a survey. You can see in the blue is the proposed fence line.
Yeah, I was trying to.
This is the easement in which the bike path and the features are on. So the house was built about 26 feet back from the property line. The fence would extend about 5 feet out from the edge of the house and would be kind of right up alongside, I can go back here, these trees. As you can see from here, the fence would kind of extend about 5 feet out, right up to the edge of these development features here.
It's just right inside that panel box right here, just right on the inside of that would be the line.
Also, I noticed it talked about drainage swell. Do you have any pictures where
Yeah, the plat does show that this 20-foot easement is for the bike path as well as for drainage. So one of the staff conditions would be that fence needs to be built with a little bit of a gap above the ground to sufficiently allow water to travel through that. I review a lot of fence permits here, and that's pretty typical that a lot of people will want to extend their fence into a drainage easement, but as long as they got that little gap there, there's
as long as you?
rarely, if
flows.
ever, an issue.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Oh, Lord, I move to approve the application 2019-2394, finding beyond a reasonable doubt that the decision factors necessary for approval of the variance according to chapter 1128 of the Planning and Zoning Codes are met with staff's conditions.
Second.
Okay, hearing that we have a motion and a second, can I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Dochenbaugh?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk?
Yes. So we have motion approved.
Put your fence up.
We're all good then?
Yep, we're good, thank you.
You're good.
So,
Do we have anything else to discuss?
thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question though, just because,
Go ahead.
remember my very first time that I was here, they were gonna condemn the building over on the east side of town along the river. And then he took us to court and now he wasn't condemned. Has anyone driven over there and saw anything that's been going on with his building? Do you know, Elaine?
Is that the flag?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the chair factory.
I haven't heard
Um,
anything about it.
I believe they were still working on it. but
Were they?
I can ask for an update, maybe we can provide one to you through email if it's.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just rode by there and it was like, gosh, it looks like the same thing when I was there. I mean, I think they even have a little bit of a business going on in there now.
Yeah, well, they did. They had one there in the front portion
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
on the separate building, but then they were just to overcome the condemnation,
Yeah.
you know, they had to fix the roof, they had to fix the structural inside, but they really didn't have to do anything
No.
visible outward appearance wise, really, so.
So the building's secure now?
Yeah,
Cause it wasn't before when I drove by. I mean, it was horrible.
yeah.
I can, speak with, well, when Jordan comes back, we can ask, or I can get an update from Mr. Eflin and provide it to you.
I was just curious.
I specifically, I hadn't heard anything completely new, but.
I was just curious. I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Our roughest,
Toughest case
case,
ever.
yeah.
Yep.
Our next meeting should be December 11th, so, not hearing any other questions, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dochenbaugh?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Absolutely.
Vice Chairman Junk?
Yes, we're closed.
Thank you.